In the heart of the desert, an era of tradition and turmoil defined the Arabian Peninsula. This was the age of Jahiliyyah. Between the shadows of the Persian and Byzantine empires, Arabia stood as a crossroads of trade and ancient customs. At its heart lay Mecca, a thriving center of commerce where the wealth of nations changed hands. But beneath the prosperity lay a harsh tribal culture, where honor was defended by the sword and disputes were etched in blood. The Kaaba, the spiritual focal point, was surrounded by 360 idols, representing the complex polytheistic landscape of the time. In this world of trade and tradition, the vulnerable suffered. Slaves and the poor lived in the shadows of the elite. This was a land on the brink of a transformation that would soon change the course of history forever. In the vast reaches of the desert, a land of ancient codes and deep traditions awaited its turning point. This was Arabia before the light. Flanked by the giants of Persia and Byzantium, the peninsula stood as a defiant crossroads of the ancient world. At its center was Mecca, the pulse of Arabian trade where merchants from every corner of the earth gathered to seek their fortune. But this wealth was guarded by a fierce tribal honor where the sword was the final arbiter of law and lineage. The Kaaba, the heart of the city, stood surrounded by 360 idols, a silent witness to a polytheistic age. Yet beneath the grandeur, the vulnerable lived in the shadows. Slaves and the poor bore the heavy weight of a society built for the elite, a land of great contrast, standing on the very edge of a transformation that would soon echo through eternity. From the humble sands of the desert, a life of duty began. A young boy herding camels under the unforgiving heat of the Arabian sun. As the years passed, the boy became a man of strength, mastering the sword and the steed with a fire that matched the desert horizon. Yet strength was not only in the arm, but in the mind. He sought the power of the written word, a rare gift in an age of oral tradition. In the great arenas of Mecca, his stature was undeniable. A giant among men, his physical presence commanded respect from all who witnessed his power. From the wrestling ring to the marketplace, his influence grew. He became a master of trade and a voice of diplomacy in the heart of the Quraysh. A man of iron and intellect, standing on the threshold of a destiny that would reshape the world forever. For years, Umar was a fierce opponent of the new faith, persecuting early Muslims with a heart like stone. In the 6th year of the mission, enraged and determined, he set out into the Meccan night with the intention of ending the Prophet's life. But the path shifted. Learning his own sister Fatima had accepted the faith, his fury turned toward her home. At her door, he heard the haunting beauty of Surah Taha. He entered in rage, striking those he once loved in a storm of fury. Yet Fatima stood firm. Her defiance cracked the armor of his heart. "Umar," she said, "we will never leave Islam." He took the parchment. As he read the verses, the words entered him like light into a sealed room, and his heart was finally opened. "Take me to Muhammad," he cried. When they met, the Prophet embraced him, and the hills of Mecca echoed with the joy of the believers. That day, for the first time, Muslims prayed openly at the Kaaba. Umar had brought them the dignity they had long sought. In Medina, Umar became a pillar of the community, a constant presence at the Prophet's side, offering counsel with the same intensity he brought to everything in life. For his clarity and conviction, the Prophet gave him the title Al-Faruq, the one who distinguishes between truth and falsehood, a title he would spend his life earning. He stood as a defender in every major trial. From the wells of Badr to the trenches of Medina, his bravery was a shield for the early believers. Even in moments of doubt, like the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, he learned the hard lesson of submission, a trial that refined his spirit and his ego. He was there for the final words at the farewell pilgrimage, a witness to the completion of a mission that had reshaped his entire world. The Prophet once said, "If there were a prophet after me, it would have been Umar." These words reveal the singular esteem in which the giant of the sands was held. In 632 CE, the passing of the Prophet left a void of profound grief. Through the turbulent years that followed, Umar stood as a faithful pillar beside the first caliph, Abu Bakr. As Abu Bakr's own life drew to a close, he chose Umar to lead. "His interior," he said, "is better than his exterior." The weight of a nation was passed to the giant of the sands. Umar stood before the people and declared, "I have been appointed over you, though I am not the best among you. If I do well, help me. If I do wrong, correct me." In those words lay the foundation of his reign, the supremacy of justice over power and a leader's absolute accountability to those he served. For 10 years, his philosophy of service would guide the expansion of the state, ensuring that the light of truth was matched by the iron of integrity. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the caliph who showed the world that true power is found not in the throne, but in the service of justice. Umar's justice was not a king's favor, but a soul's conviction. He believed to the marrow of his bones that he would answer to Allah for every soul in his care. In disguise and alone, he patrolled the streets of Medina at night, witnessing the hidden struggles of his people while the world slept. One night he heard the cries of hungry children. The sound pierced his heart, turning the leader of an empire into a servant of the needy. He refused any help, carrying the heavy sack himself. "Will you carry my burden for me on the day of judgment?" he asked. He would not let another bear his responsibility. His justice made no exceptions. When his own son was found guilty, Umar saw only the law. He summoned the governor of Egypt himself to stand as an equal before the court. He established the Bayt al-Mal, ensuring every citizen had a share of the nation's wealth. In the desert sands, he built the first welfare state in history. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the giant of the sands, whose justice remains a beacon of light for all who lead and all who seek the truth. Under Umar's leadership, the Islamic State expanded at a speed that astonished the ancient world, challenging the two greatest empires of the age simultaneously. In just a few years, the giants of Byzantium and Persia were broken at Yarmouk and Al-Qadisiyah, shifting the scales of global power forever. From modern-day Libya in the west to the borders of Afghanistan in the east, it was one of the largest and fastest territorial expansions in human history. When Jerusalem surrendered, Umar traveled to meet them, not with the pomp of a conqueror, but on a single camel, alternating the ride with his servant. He entered the holy city in a simple patched cloak. The Patriarch of Jerusalem wept in awe, witnessing a leader who valued service over the symbols of power. Umar issued a covenant of peace, guaranteeing religious freedom and protection for all. No forced conversions, no looting, just the reign of justice. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the conqueror who entered in humility, and the ruler who left a legacy of freedom that would echo through the centuries. He ruled an empire stretching millions of square miles, yet Umar ibn al-Khattab refused to live like an emperor. His cloak bore 14 patches, a testament to a life of profound humility. He ate barley bread and olive oil and slept on a mat of palm leaves. With no guards at his door, he was a leader who belonged entirely to his people. When vast wealth poured into Medina, Umar ensured it went into the public treasury. "I have sent you as leaders, not as masters," he told his governors. "Your people have rights over you." In the year of Ramada, a severe famine struck Arabia. Umar personally organized a massive relief effort, coordinating food from across the empire to feed the starving. He carried the heavy sacks himself, refusing any help. "Will you carry my burden for me on the day of judgment?" he asked. He would not eat well while his people were hungry. His justice made no exceptions for rank or relationship. He summoned his own governors to stand before the court, ensuring the law applied equally to all, from the citizen to the caliph's son. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the giant of the sands, who showed the world that true power is found in the service of justice and the love of one's people. In the early morning of November 644 CE, Umar ibn al-Khattab led his final prayer. It was the act that had defined his mornings for a decade. Struck by a poisoned blade in the very house of God, the giant of the sands fell. Even in his final days, his heart remained tethered to the justice of his people. Refusing to appoint a successor alone, he formed a council of 6, determined that no one should ever say his family had seized power for themselves. He asked for one final favor: to be buried beside the Prophet and Abu Bakr. With Aisha's permission, he was laid to rest in that sacred chamber where he remains to this day. In 10 years, he had defeated 2 empires and administered millions, yet never, not once, allowed power to corrupt the simplicity of his character. The Prophet once said that the truth follows the path of Umar. He was a leader who ruled himself as strictly as he ruled his empire, a giant of faith and human possibility. May Allah be pleased with him, a leader of service, sacrifice, and the unrelenting pursuit of what is right. Ameen.